Musician and maestro Gareth Churcher has been announced as the new artistic director to lead Cornwall's hugely successful International Male Voice Choir Festival, the largest of its kind in the world. Is that right?
It is, yes.
Oh my goodness me, that's a bit of a coup for Cornwall, isn't it?
It certainly is, and the taking aside all the wonderful creative aspects of the festival, it actually brings in a lot of money to the local economy as well. Something like, we've estimated £1 million over that bank holiday weekend.
So was it a thrill for you to be nominated? And, you know, here we go, Gareth, this is all on you now.
I'm absolutely privileged and honoured. To be honest, I always had, been involved with the festival as a competitor before, I always had the aspiration to be one of the adjudicators, to sit on the other side of the fence, so to speak. And then I had this phone call out of the blue from the chairman, Bruce Taylor, to say that, you know, we'd like to look at appointing you as the next festival artistic director. It was just amazing.
It's quite a wide remit, artistic director, isn't it? What are you covering? Because, I mean, if you don't know about the International Male Voice Choir Festival, it's been going for around about
18
years.
Yeah.
And it has grown immensely. You get choirs from all over the world.
That's right. So in the first instance, it's contacting those prospective choirs, trying to encourage those international choirs as well, which is quite a challenge, what with language barriers and so on and so forth. And yeah, it's just the whole implementation of getting these wonderful musicians over for this weekend, or this long extended weekend in May 2019.
So, I mean, you know what you're talking about with choral music, don't you? So does it sound similar in different languages? I mean, obviously staccatos are different, rhythms are different, but at the end of the day, they're all singing choral works.
They are, but the beauty of different languages is that you get very, very different sounds, especially when vowel sounds are produced in a slightly different way, maybe from a German choir to a Swedish choir. So it's a very interesting concept, and I think that's what is wonderful about this festival. It allows us here within Cornwall, we have our own distinct sound as well, where we generally roll our R's and lift our R's too much, but then you can learn so much from other cultures and the way that they sing as well.
How do they feel about being adjudicated? Because do we know who's on the panel for next time?
Yeah, well, we always like to try and have an international
I was just going to say,
a national adjudicator, and then somebody that's local as well. So we've already secured the services of Chris Gray, who's adjudicated for many years now, and you know, such an expert in his field. And also having conversations with a man called Jakob Martinek from Sweden as well.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So how do you adjudicate the choir? What are you looking at? It's a bit like an X Factor moment, isn't it? You've got one chance to shine. So are you looking for tone? Singing obviously together?
Yeah. So you're looking for all those basics, intonation, togetherness. But where it gets really interesting, especially when you have choirs from different cultures and different backgrounds, is what they sing. How technically advanced is that, and how much do you take that into consideration when you're adjudicating? Luckily, I don't have to make that decision.
You're out of the money.
But what we are devising in close collaboration with Chris Gray actually is a set of parameters for the choir to see before they engage with the actual competitive side. However, the beauty of this festival is that you can still come to it as a choir and not actually compete. You can just take part in the fringe events, and that's a great thing too.
But if you get a really beautiful song that's sung beautifully and that remains in your mind, sometimes some choral works can be a little, I don't want to say dirgy, but they can be not so bright. So I suppose you've got to really pull yourself back as an adjudicator, say, I really loved what they did. But now I've got to look at this in my own way now, not get personal about it.
But sometimes the things that are most simplistic are the hardest things to pull off. And that's what the adjudicators, I'm sure, will be taking into consideration. A balanced programme, because within your 12 to 15 minutes, you want to demonstrate that beautiful aspect of your singing, the lyricism, the legato-ness, but how do they balance that with something that maybe is more technically challenging?
It's amazing that it's based in Cornwall. When you think of choirs all over the world, you think you'd be looking at Copenhagen or Stockholm or whatever it is. But to have it in Cornwall, that is a massive pull, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And all credit to the people that have set it up all those years ago. First ever festival director was Dr. Roy Wells. And at the time, I was just emerging in the male voice choir movement, and I took huge inspiration from what he was achieving. But that being said, it's also to do with the local people that are making it happen as well. For example, Bruce Taylor, as I've mentioned, is our chair, but then John Lark, who's the vice chair and has just been awarded an MBE for his services to this movement.
Yeah. Now, one of the things we've got to talk about is you would normally have your big finale in the Hall for Cornwall and some other big concerts, because you get some very famous ones. The Vienna Boys Choir you've had over. There was a Russian choir
Dublin
one year.
Boys, that's right.
There were people just raving about. So this big concert at the end, celebration, but they're closed. They're going into build. What are you doing?
Yeah, so that's been a first challenge to look at an alternative venue or venues. The Hall for Cornwall was perfect in terms of it being in a central location and wonderful for those choirs in the competition. So we've had great conversations with Falmouth Methodist Church, who are going to host us for the actual competition side. And logistically, as a building, it works really, really well, because there's 3 floors, the top floor being the floor where the choirs will compete, but there's the ability for them to have warm-up spaces, and the movement of the choirs should be quite straightforward. Ultimately, it's not as big as the Hall for Cornwall, so we're going to have to be very careful in terms of audience
size.
But generally, people want to come and hear the choirs that they want to hear. So I think it's nicer to have a full-up venue, and acoustically, a beautiful venue like Falmouth Methodist has got a huge draw. But to counteract that, we're going to use more Truro Cathedral than we have done in previous festivals.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, so we'll be using the cathedral for our opening and closing gala concerts, and also the youth competition as well. So.
It's very exciting times.
Oh,
it
is, yeah.
I must say congratulations to you being awarded the Trelawney Plate as well for outstanding services for music in Cornwall. That's huge. How did you feel about that? Did you? Again,
it was just such a shock. I had a phone call from James Williams, who just phoned up and said, "Oh, by the way," because I'd read in the press about the Trelawney Plate, some phenomenal recipients in the past. So to be awarded that was just a...
Well, you're one of them now.
Well, yes.
Name up there in history, Gareth.
Yeah, it was.
So it's 2019 we're looking at, isn't it? Do you need any help at all? Are you looking for people yet, or is it a little bit too far away?
I think we're very lucky that the way that the executive board and the board has been constructed really engages with a lot of local support. But yeah, from here on in now, applications, it's all open. We've redesigned the website, so there's an easier platform for people to sign up online. And we must also remember that there's also a composers competition as well. So having a keen interest in composition myself, I think this is a really good thing that the Melvilles...
That's new, isn't it?
Well, it's been running for quite some time now, but it encourages compositions for the movement. And really excitingly, what they've also done is created a new class this year, which is the Cambiata class, which is for changing voices. So
a soft voice that's growing.
Yeah.
That changeable from a young male chorister.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, because that can be quite a traumatic
time. It is,
time.
and the more materials that we can produce for that, hopefully the more we can engage with younger singers as well.
Yes.
So that's a really unique element. That closing deadline is the 31st of March of this year. Already some great applications in for that. And then our closing date for choirs for the actual festival, which is running obviously the 2nd to the 6th of May in 2019, is the end of July of this year.
Brilliant. It all sounds very exciting, and a debut for you as well.
Yeah.
So this time next year you'll be a bit nervous.
No pressure.
No pressure, Gareth. Don't worry about it. I'm sure we'll be speaking to you before then again, won't we?
Yes.
It's nice to see you, and I hope it goes really well. Thanks for coming in.